welcome to the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast. My name is Nikki. I'm also known as Knitting with Cat Hair on Instagram and Cat Hair Knitting on Ravelry. I'm coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, which lies atop the traditional lands of the Tekimishing and Anishinaabe people, where I live with my partner, our 2 daughters, and our 5 cats. And this is primarily a knitting podcast. However, sometimes I talk about some of the other crafts that I'm delving into at the time. So a big warm welcome to all new viewers and a big welcome back to all returning viewers. I hope everyone is doing well. And yeah. So if you're looking to find out who was the winner of the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, I did post earlier today. I posted a Q&A specific episode where I announced the winner. So you might want to check that out. Or if you're interested in seeing my answers to all the questions that were posed, I'll put a little link up in one of the corners here. So just a few admin things up front. As per usual, we still have the Around the World Make-Along happening over in the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast group over on Ravelry. We are knitting with yarns and patterns from the Western Hemisphere this time around, and the trimester runs from September 1st until the end of the year, so December 31st. And you can certainly check out the Ravelry group for more details if you want to participate. We also have the Marie Wallen Make-Along happening over on Instagram, and we are using the hashtag A Year of Marie Wallen Cal for this one. And it started August 1st of this year and will run at least until August 1st of next year. So all you have to do is use the hashtag over on Instagram to be eligible for prizes and share your Marie Wallen projects. We also have a chatter group over on Instagram. It's a great little group. Everyone's so helpful. And we have a few lurkers who haven't even cast on yet or just getting some helpful hints or inspiration from other photos and works in progress. If you'd like to join that chatter thread, by all means, just shoot me a DM over on Instagram and I'll get you added. All right, so let's jump right into the knitting chat. So I'll start with my first finished object and what I'm wearing. I finished my Swallowtail sweater, which is a pattern by Jamie Hoffman or Knitosophy over on Instagram. So I'll stand up so you can see a little better. So it features this beautiful swallowtail butterfly colorwork, and there's some colorwork at the bottom and the sleeves as well. And there's colorwork on the back as well. I can't really show it to you, but it doesn't have the butterfly. It's just kind of this pattern around the back. So long-term viewers may know that this project has been a bit of a labor of love for me. I love it. I've loved knitting it. I just experienced a few issues related to my colorwork gauge, which I think after all of the projects I've been knitting this past year, I'm finally starting to clue into the fact that for myself, I need to go up 2 needle sizes when I'm doing colorwork. So long story short, I ended up having to reknit the body. So basically I ripped back to the colorwork and reknit this portion, actually the whole portion of the body on size, I think I used size 2 needles because I did size 4 for the colorwork. So I had to go down 2 sizes for the stockinette portions, and it fits so much better. It took more time obviously because I had completed the sweater back at the beginning of the year. I can't even remember. Beginning of the year, late last year. Anyways, I had finished it and proceeded to rip out and reknit the body. And I'm so happy I did that because now I love my sweater. It fits nicely. I don't have the bulging anymore that I was getting from using too big of a needle size. So yeah, sometimes it just pays to put in that extra time and effort. I know it's a pain, and I kind of did it in stages, so it helped it feel less, I don't know, less like a backtrack, I guess. So I ripped it out at one point. First, I put it in the naughty corner for a while. Then when I injured my wrist and couldn't knit, I thought that was a good opportunity to take it out. So I took it out and ripped back to the point that I needed to restart the body. And then again, I put it away for a while. And then I pulled it back out when I was ready to finally knit on it. And because it was just knitting in the round stockinette, there was a little bit of waist shaping as well. which I hadn't put in the first time around, and I'm kind of glad that I put it in this time around. So yeah, I knit mine up out of 4 colors of Georgian Bay Fiber Co. yarn. She was a local yarn dyer to me here in Sudbury, but unfortunately she closed her shop earlier this spring. So I'm not going to go over the color names, but it's 4 different colors. You can see there's kind of like a yellow at the top. There's a dark brown for the outlining of the butterfly and the color work, and then the background color is like a light beige, and then this portion of the body is actually kind of a rust color. So 4 colors. Fingering weight, as I explained, I did my color work on US 4s and the non-color work on US 2s. I did the ribbing, I think I did the ribbing on US 3s. I can't remember. I should mention everything that I talk about, I will provide links down in the description box below to my project pages on Ravelry. And if Ravelry is not accessible to you, please do reach out to me, and I'll answer your questions. So yeah, I'm really happy with my sweater. It's so cozy. It was 100% blue face Leicester, non-superwash. So it's really cozy, really bouncy. I just love it. I'm so glad I got it finished before we actually had snow on the ground. So it feels like it's still a little bit like fall, so it's still appropriate. But yeah, really happy with it and highly recommend the pattern. It's you know, for a colorwork sweater, it might actually be a beginner friendly one, because now that I think about it, there's only 2 colors. You're only ever using 2 colors at one time. I'm just trying to remember. Pretty sure that's the case. Yeah. Yeah, you're only ever using 2 colors at one time, so that's nice. It's knit in the round and it's knit top down. So the only thing I would caution if you're about to jump into your first colorwork project, and this is going to be the one, is that you really do some test swatches and see how your gauge is on your color work versus non-color work, because it's pretty common for people to knit tightly color work. So usually you have to go up a needle size. Usually, I say that. Some people don't. I don't think my mom does. So yeah, some people are able to control their gauge better than I am anyways. And there is a bit of float catching involved as well. So you'd have to be mindful of that. But yeah, very happy. Okay, let's move into, I had another finished object. Unfortunately, I can't show it. It was a gift knit, and the person that I knit it for, pretty sure she's watching this podcast. So I don't want to ruin the surprise. Okay, so I have cast on a few things. I'll talk about those maybe at the end. I'll start with the updates on my previous works in progress. So I'll start with my partner's sweater. As you know, as I've mentioned several times, this is my longest standing whip. It's been on my needles for about 4 years now. It is the first colorwork sweater that I ever attempted to knit, so there's some issues with it. It's for my partner. I am determined to get this finished for him by Christmas. The pattern is called the Westerly Pullover. It is by Moira Engel. I believe she's a Canadian designer. So I've shown this so many times in the past, but I'll just show one piece. So I've finished the front and the back. This is the back. And yeah, so I finished both pieces, front and back, and then I picked it up after been sitting for a year or so, or 2 years or whatever. Been sitting for a while, and then I started working on the sleeves. So I've now finished both sleeves. I'll just show you the one because they're identical. Actually, they're not identical. I made a mistake. So yeah, I finished the second sleeve fairly recently and realized that I forgot to go up 2 needle sizes for the color work. So one of them is a little bit, I only forgot to do I only forgot to go up 2 needle sizes for the color work at the top of the sleeve. So I did the bottom of the sleeve properly. So one sleeve is a little bit tighter than the other. in the greater scheme of things, I think I can probably fix it by seaming. I think it'll be fine. So I'm honestly not too worried about it. And so I've finished all of the pieces. Now my job is to weave in all the thousands of ends that I have to weave in, because when I was making this sweater to start, I didn't know about weaving in my ends as I went. So there are like a bazillion ends. Luckily, when I picked it back up, I did start weaving in ends. So there's a few less, but it's still quite a few. So I've been working on weaving in all of the ends for the sweater, and then I have to wet block them first, then seam it together. I think I seam it together, and then I have to start picking up and doing, there's a hood and a collar. So it doesn't sound like a ton, but I feel like it's because I hate seaming. I absolutely hate seaming. I feel like I could very easily procrastinate and not get this done for Christmas like I intend to. So I really have to start getting on it. But yeah, pieces are done. That's great. Oh, and the yarn that I used for my partner's sweater is Wool of the Andes Tweed by Knit Picks. So I'm using 4 different colors. I never remember the colorway names. So if you're interested, you can, again, click on my Ravelry page and check out the color names. But yeah, it's a really nice yarn. I've talked about it before. I don't believe it's superwash. It says to wash by hand. So I'm assuming that means that it's non-superwash, I hope. I'm enjoying knitting with it. The yarn is lovely. Okay, so now we'll move on to my Marie Wallin chestnut cardigan that I'm making for our Marie Wallin make along. So I showed in my last episode that I had finished the back piece. I'll just pop in a quick picture so you can see what that looked like. And I'm now moving on to, I think it's I can't remember now, the left front, I think. I haven't done much. I've done some ribbing and just starting a little bit of the color work. So when I was doing the corrugated ribbing, I noticed that I made a mistake on my back part, and I used a color that was incorrect in the ribbing. I personally, I had 2 options. I could either go rip back the whole piece that I just did, the back piece, and replace the color, which, since it was knit bottom up, I was like, there's no way I'm doing that. So the other option was to either switch the color in here to match the back, or just wing it and keep going with the proper colors now that I know, and assume that no one's going to notice. So that's the route I took. I don't think you'd know. Like, you'd have to see, maybe if you were standing at my side and saw both like ribbing pieces side by side, you might notice that one of the colors is lighter than the other, but I don't think it's that big a deal. Honestly, certain things I just can't be bothered with. So I've chosen to leave it, and I'll have to do the same for obviously the other sides and just make sure I don't make the same mistake again. I am using the Marie Wallin's British Breeds colors. This is the original called for yarn. It's a really lovely yarn, very pricey. I mentioned this is probably the one and only time I'll ever use this yarn, but it is lovely. And there are 8 colors in this cardigan. And yeah, it's a really fun knit. I've kind of put this one on hold as I've put most of my projects on hold to focus on gift knitting. I always do this. I wait till the last minute. It feels like the last minute, and then I think, oh, I really want to make this and that and this for other people, and it's already mid-November, and like there's no time to do all of this stuff. I don't know why I do this. But how are you? Are you the type who can start Christmas knitting or holiday knitting in, let's say, summer? because I find I am very seasonally motivated. So when it's autumn, I want to make autumn knits, which is never conducive to me actually being able to wear that knit in the appropriate season until I wait till next year. That's what I'm noticing. If I were smart, I'd plan ahead, but I really do. I guess I feel like knitting for myself is supposed to be enjoyable, and I just go with whatever I'm enjoying knitting on at the time. So hence why I'm always doing the last like mad dash for Christmas gifts near the end of the season and having to put everything else on hold. So the Marie Wallen might not get as much attention over the next month or so. I'm knitting it up on size US 4 needles. I'm making an extra large size to accommodate my 45-inch bust. So the extra large is for 44 to 46-inch busts. Yeah, I guess that's probably all I can say about that one. Okay, then I did some work on my Imker socks, which is a pattern by Nellie Droitz from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. And so I did some progress, made some progress. Again, this one's going to sit for a bit after this too. So it's got this beautiful honeycomb pattern up the front. You have the option of putting it on the back as well, like on the leg. Obviously, these are knit toe up, so it does give you the option for carrying it around. I chose not to do that. I'm thinking like for two reasons. One, I'm lazy. It's just easier to do the back in stockinette. Two, the cabling really does draw things in and make it tighter. So it fits, but I'm worried that, especially on my legs, which are the bigger part of me for socks, that if I put the cabling on the leg as well, it would just be too tight. And you'll have to excuse my furnace is kicking on again. It's going to do that on and off. I'm really sorry. I know it's distracting, but I have to film in the basement. That's the price I pay. So yeah, these are the Imker socks. I'm knitting them up out of a yarn by Small Bird Workshop, which is a Canadian hand dyer. Let's see if I can find the tag. Here we go. Here's the tag. And this is her Covey base, which is it's a sock fingering weight, 80% superwash wool, 20% hemp, 435 yards per 100 grams. And it's a 4-ply. And the colorway is Butterscotch Pudding. And I have talked about this in my last episode, how I'm not 100% enjoying knitting with this base. Small Bird Workshop has a lot of lovely bases. This is just, it's the hemp specific base. I'm just not enjoying all these little kind of betwings that are sticking out. I don't know if you guys can see that. But anyways, yeah, I'm still going to finish them, and I'm curious to see how they wear because they don't have any nylon in them, and if I can get away from nylon, that would be wonderful. So yeah, that's the color on the ball. And I'm knitting them 2 at a time, obviously, and they are housed in this lovely little 2 at a time sock knitting bag by My Knittle Crafts. I am not sponsored by anybody. I just talk about what I love. And what was I going to say? I'm knitting them up on my typical US 2.25 millimeter needles. So yeah, those are going to sit as well as I turn my attention to gift knitting. So I mentioned this project, or I showed this project a few episodes ago. Firstly, it's housed in this gorgeous Blue Rabbit house bag. I love the polar bear. And it is my Nightshift shawl by Andrea Mowry. So the last time I showed this, I was mentioning how some of the colors that were coming out I didn't enjoy them next to each other. So I ended up with a red and a green that were next to each other, and I just wasn't loving it. So I was going to rip it out and reknit and kind of do a more color planning, I guess. So I have ripped it out. Wow, it looks so stripy near the top. You know, it's so funny because I loved this section of the shawl very much. And then all of a sudden, I guess because the rows are getting longer, it's just so stripy. Anyways, I've decided that this is going to be a gift for a friend who I know appreciates lots of different colors. So I'm working on finishing it. The progress keeper there is where I ripped back to. So that's how much I've done since in the last 3 weeks, I guess. Yeah. So I'm knitting it up out of Noro Silk Garden, I think is the name. Yes. There's my crinkly label. Noro Silk Garden, which is 45% silk, 45% mohair, and 10% wool. And I'm using 3 different colors, but I am always consistently holding the one neutral color as the background color. So this is a mosaic knitting project. So you'll see that it's created by using slip stitches. So I'm always using this in the background. It's always going to be a neutral, and then the foreground, these little bumps, these are the slip stitches. Those are the different colors that I'm switching throughout. So yeah, I really have to, the rows are getting very long now. It's starting to take a long time to get through them. But yeah, I really need to get a move on if I'm going to get this one done for Christmas as well. Or maybe for her birthday. We'll see. Her birthday is a little bit after Christmas, so that gives me a little bit more time, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So yeah, that's the Nightshift. And I'm knitting mine up on US 7 needles. I think that's a size down from what the pattern suggests. I think that was a US 8. But my US 8s were in use, so I had to go down. Okay, and what else do we have? Oh, I forgot something upstairs. That's okay. There wasn't really anything to show for it anyways. So I'll show you my newest cast on. I'm making, housed in this little bag by Longview Creations, little elephant bag. I am making a pair of Christmas socks for our youngest. And last year, longer term viewers might know that I made my partner a pair of Christmas socks, and I finished them right before, I think it was like Christmas Eve. So I've just started making my daughter's her socks out of the leftovers from my partner's socks. So there's not a lot left. This is all I have left. So I'm just gonna knit till I'm done, and then throw in an afterthought heel, throw in a toe in a contrasting color. And so the yarn that I'm using is by Timber Yarns. It's their self-striping. It is, it's called twin socks. So they give you 2 skeins that are identical. So you could knit 2 at a time, or just so you end up with socks that are exactly the same pretty much. And these are 50 gram skeins. And 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And do I have it? Yes, I do. So I also purchased two separate mini skeins. The green's been balled up because I've used it in my partner's socks to do the heels with. Heels and or toes, I'll see how much I have to be able to do that. We'll have to see. So yeah, I am doing a 3x1 rib. I cast on 60 stitches for my daughter, but I figured because it's ribbing that should pull it in and fit snugly. I find if you're ever, this is a good tip if you're a sock knitter and you're thinking about making socks for people, if you're ever not sure of, you know, the exact size, ribbing really helps. Ribbing, because it stretches and pulls in, is great for people when you're gift knitting, because if you don't know the exact size of the person that you're knitting for. Of course, lengthwise is a little more tricky, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's just a little tip. So she doesn't know I'm making these for her, hence why I'm doing the ribbing. Otherwise, I would just ask her to try them on as I go. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get those done for Christmas. And then, like I showed you, I have another set to make for myself and my stepdaughter. And then we'll all have Christmas socks. See, like I get near Christmas and I just want to make Christmassy things. If only I would have started these earlier. Yeah, then we'd all have, and anyone who has watched my podcast last year when I was talking about making Christmas stockings for everybody for Christmas for this year, yeah, I've not started. Can't even decide on a pattern that I want to make Christmas stockings. Our kids are going to be out of the house and like married with children by the time I actually get around to making Christmas stockings. It's ridiculous. Okay, and then lastly, I didn't bring it down to show for some reason. I forgot it, but I am casting on a wild posy, another wild posy by B Mandarins, or Melody Hoffman. So I did the test knit for her in the Luna version, which is the textured stitch version, and I'm going to be casting on the lace version, which is the Flora version, in white Plotulopi. I just wound up my Plotulopi and finished one of my obligation knits, so I'm ready to cast on because I want to have that ready for Christmas. That'll be my Christmas sweater. And yes, I know white is a terrible idea for me, but it's happening. Yeah, and so now that I've knit with Newton and now I'm going to be knitting with Plotulopi, I can definitely feel the differences between the two. Even though they're both unspun, the Plotulopi is definitely a little more rustic. I don't find it itchy or scratchy or anything like that. Of course, I haven't worn it yet or anything, but just having it in my hands, I didn't find it unpleasant. It definitely seems more durable. I did not break the yarn or fiber once when I was rolling it into a ball. Not once, and I was pulling on it. So I think it's a little more durable. It's definitely thicker too, because I only need 2 strands of it to get the same thickness that I needed 3 strands of the Newton to do the wild posy in. So yeah, just a few observations. And one of the things I wanted to mention that I'm going to be using, this is a tip or trick that I've used in the past, and I just wanted to mention it because if you've never heard of this technique, it might be helpful. So if you're casting on a large number of stitches, so basically for me, if it's anything larger than socks, what I do is I'm using multiple balls. Usually if you're making a sweater, you're gonna have more than one skein of the same yarn. I will do like a slip knot at the end. So I take 2 balls, slip knot them together at the end, put that on the needles, and then use one, and this is for the long tail cast on, so use one piece of yarn to do the loops and the other to kind of like wrap around or whatever, and then at the end so then you don't have to try and guess how much yarn you're going to need to do the long tail cast on. This is where I'm going with this. It makes it so much easier. So you just cast on your number of stitches, and then just remember at the end to take that slip knot off the needle. Don't count it as one of the stitches. It doesn't count. And then you snip one of the yarns and you're left with, your knitting. And yeah, it saves so many headaches when you're like, I can't tell you how many times I've tried to cast on 200 stitches and try to like estimate how much length of yarn I'm going to need to do those 200 stitches, and ended up either short and having to recast on, or too long and just wasting yarn, which is always annoying too. So that's just a little tip that I highly recommend using the next time you're casting on a large number of stitches. So yeah, I think that's it for all the knitting chat. I got a request from me to start including a little bit more of the other crafts that I'm working on. And I will say that I do that generally. I don't always leave a lot of time for other crafts. So if you're not seeing them, it's because I'm probably not doing them. Knitting is definitely my first love. But I did, a few weeks ago, I did pull out some cross stitching. So I just thought I'd share my progress on that one. So it is housed in this this bag, I guess, by, I think it's Little Boat 88. They're on Etsy. I will obviously link down below. I just like it. It has little bees on it and some flowers. And it's nice because it has a vinyl case, so you can see what project is in there. You're not guessing. I have two of these types of cases. So it also comes with a little needle minder, which is like a magnet that goes on either side of your fabric, and you can just stick your needle right on there, and you don't have to be searching around for it or puncturing your fabric. So it's kind of handy. Sorry, so I'm just going to take the needle minder off so I can show. So this is called Blackstone Fantasy Garden. Actually, I'll show you a picture of what the finished, if I have it. Oh, there it is. Okay, hopefully there's not too much glare here. There. So that's what it looks like when it's all done. It's kind of like a Celtic cross-stitch design. It is by Ink Circles. And it was a kit that, I think it was a kit that I got. I'm pretty sure. And it came with, yes, it was. And it came with all of the hand-dyed threads. And I think I looked this person up, Carrie's Creations, and she's no longer in business. So I bought this. Oh my goodness. We're talking like, it was before my daughter was born. And she's 11. So yeah, at least like 12 years ago. And these are all the beautiful jewel tone threads. They're all, I feel like silky. Oh, it's been so long. I think they are silk threads. Maybe? Maybe not. I don't remember now. So yeah, I've been trying to get this done for a little while now, obviously. And which way does it go? This way, I think. No, this way. Not that it matters. I mean, it's all pretty much the same, but yeah, so it's a series of cross stitches. So the border is all done in cross stitches. And then inside each section is, I think it's called black work. It's where it's like back stitching or lines. It's all a bunch of different flower type designs. And yeah, it's basically like each corner's the same. So it's kind of repetitive in that way, but so I'm just literally have to finish up this side here, and then I'm done. And then I can get it framed and hung up because it is really pretty. I love all the autumny jewel tone colors in it. So yeah, that is my progress on my cross stitching. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it really, other than my eyesight has changed over the past 12 years. So I need bifocals now, and I will say that I have difficulty doing cross stitching because it's so fine and it's close up, and yeah, it's not as easy as it used to be for me when I was younger. Let's just leave it at that. So that causes another like kind of layer of complication and why it takes so long for me to make progress. But anyways, yeah, so I think that's it in terms of life stuff. My mom is going to be coming and spending December with us again this year, which we're very much looking forward to. So yeah, I'll have to go grab her in a few weekends and bring her back here. And so you can probably look forward to seeing her and myself on the next podcast episode together. I can't wait for her to show me all of the things that she's been making and to show you as well. Yeah, so that'll be fun. And I'm way behind on the Christmas stuff, guys. Like, I'm just falling behind. I haven't done anything, and it's starting to stress me out. So I think I'm really going to have to focus on getting things in order, because I do not want to leave it to the last minute and then start freaking out. How are you guys doing? Are you ready for your holidays? For those who celebrate Christmas, are you ready for Christmas? Do you have any special plans? Yeah, I'd love to know. I'd also love to know what you're making for gifts. I love to see what people make for each other for Christmas and for holidays, for any time, really. Gift knitting is great. I'm very selective on who I gift knit for, though. Has to be someone who's knit worthy. Yeah, so what are you guys making? I'd love to know. And yeah, I think that's it. I will be honest, I filmed the Q&A podcast episode last night, and I'm feeling a bit burnt from it. It was a long one. And so yeah, I'm not gonna drag this one out with too much chit chat. I think I'm just gonna end it there, and I will talk to you guys all in 3 weeks. So until then, take care and happy making. Bye.